Hello. So the last couple of days, a lot of people have been asking me to do like a video about the twins. I've done many videos about the twins before, but because they are like a popular team and stuff, I'm gonna, like I said, kind of talk about them. Like I said, I still use them quite a bit in like Guild Wars and stuff because they are a very efficient line. Right, so generally, let's just pull this up. So did this to kind of show you, this is kind of like what, like the, generally speaking, the best twins team this sun called. We call it Trinity Twins because you have the Holy Trinity, Aurora, Celeste, Sebastian. Like Sebastian, Celeste, Aurora are generally the three best heroes in the game. They're kind of like the best core to build a team around. Like if you have those three heroes, like you have your tank, your healer, your support, like they're generally the best in their categories. And then you can put the whatever DPSs you want around those heroes. Like a lot of teams will run that core, or at least two of those three heroes are very common. But so this is kind of like the go-to team. The patrons just depends on what you need. It's not a team I would recommend on defense too much these days. Post Isaac, it's not been that great of a defending team. Before Isaac, this was probably the best defending team in the game. Like, I mean, before Isaac was a thing, my guild, we were putting like 7 times this line in Guild War. Sometimes we might switch up the pets. Some would use Axel, some would use Kane, some would use Oliver, some would use Marley or whatever. But that's like we pretty much had most of the guild using these 5 heroes on defense because that team was that good back in those days. Like before Isaac was around, that was literally the best team in the game. Like absolutely. Like I said, Isaac kind of helped level the playing field again because Twins meta was definitely stale. But so like what's like said, so I just kind of want to bring up like a few like I guess I should have meant to do one more thing. Like so, the main counters to twins, like your main Benfos, obviously Isaac. I said he's definitely a tough hero. Another hero, like I said, honestly, I think is worse. Isaac, Leanne is probably the bane of my existence. Like on defense, I really like I said, Leanne will cause a lot of problems. I almost never like to run out twins versus Leanne. Isaac sometimes, depending on the line, I can get away with it. But Leanne, a lot of times, I don't really like to run twins versus Leanne if I don't have to. Um, Other heroes that will get you. Thea's like the other hero. Like a lot of people underestimate, but Thea is one of the most. Like there's few heroes that will cause you more trouble than Thea. Thea's always been one of the toughest heroes for twins teams. She's always like I said, she buffs magic defense. Like I said, she does a lot really good healing, especially with her Ascension ability. She's very tough now. But she can also silence and pre-Sebastian days, just even that 3 second silence was pretty good. But if you can, like I said, post pet, you can make that 9 seconds with Mara Patron. If you're able to, make sure they don't have if they don't have Sebastian, or if you have a way to strip Ode, she can be very good. Speaking of, like, Ode is, like I said, is such an important buff ability in this game. Like, like I said, Biscuit as a patron. Generally, like, if you say, like I said, you'll see Biscuit as a patron on, like, Aurora's a lot on defense. To kind of, when you have, like, heroes like Isaac or Leanne, to kind of force a Ode strip so they can just wreck you with status effects. Aurora's common, Maya's common, Helios is common. Biscuit's patron will get you. Rufus, he's not. I wouldn't say he's quite as strong. Hard to deal with these heroes because Rufus is super easy counter. Like if you can find a room for a Morgan, then Rufus isn't that big of a deal. Or if there's also other ways to get Rufus. Sometimes, like I said, I don't know. Like I said, the other thing like the old days, like we used to just you could just bring in Kane on your twins team, and then just time Kane's ult to finish off Rufus. Usually you'd have to finish off the rest of the team before Rufus, but that can work as well. But like I said, so I would say so Rufus there for, and then of course like Maya, like I said, kind of similar to Thea. Maya also buffs magic defense. She's also really strong, does pretty decent healing, does a lot of DPS. And then probably the last one I'd say can really cause you problems is Arachne. Just because those stuns get really good, and Biscuit Patron has made Arachne really good. Not on Arachne yourself. You usually put Mara on Arachne, but Arachne, like I said, her stuns last a long time with Mara Patron. So like I said, if you have something to Ode strip, like maybe you're using Maya to Ode strip or Aurora or whatever, like Arachne will get you a lot of times. Like she's very good. So those are the heroes that'll get you in the twins. So those are heroes you got to watch out for. on defending teams, but I just kind of want to show you some teams that are easy to win with the twins, some that aren't. So this so Kark, Yasmin, heroes like that are very easy to beat with twins. Actually, I already did all these fights to come to think of it. Right, so we can actually just, like I said, so these fights are very easy. Like, for this one here is very easy for the twins. Like Kark, in Yasmin, especially against versus Aurora, like very easy to win. And just like they don't have heroes like Kark and Yasmin have really poor magic defense, so they just get destroyed. Key point is patrons. Against Kark, you always want Axel patron versus Lars. Like, Kark can sometimes get Celeste, but it's a lot harder to win without Lars than it is without Celeste versus Kark. Celeste is important versus Yasmin, but you do have to pick. And generally speaking, versus Kark, putting Axel on Lars is the right call. Like I said, Celeste can definitely help versus Yasmin. Then sometimes you will just get bad RNG, and like that happens because you have a lot of randoms you have with Yasmin, a lot of randoms with Aurora. But generally speaking, you'll win this fight pretty easily, like 9 times out of 10. With this line, like I said, if Axel dies, like I said, if Lars dies because you don't have Axel on him from Kark, because Kark will always hit Lars pretty much his first ult. And, then you have to hope either Lars dodges or he dies. And if Lars dies, your chance of winning is almost nil. Like, if Celeste dies, you still have a pretty good chance of winning against a line like this. Which is why you want Axel on Lars. In case you're wondering what the damage looks like. Celeste does a lot of healing there. And then the next line down, this is a Dante team. Also have Helios. I see lines like this a lot because Helios is a popular defending hero. He's not particularly good against twins with this line, but this line is very good versus like Yasmin's and stuff. Like, I see this kind of line really commonly in Guild Wars, or slight variations of it. Right, and you notice when Dante ults, he usually doesn't hit the very back hero. Like, so Lars isn't really targeted by Dante. So as such, you actually put Axel on Celeste, Oliver on Sebastian. As I said, Lars, like I said, he's not likely to get targeted by Dante unless one of these other heroes die. So you don't really worry about Lars. So you put Oliver on Sebastian, Axel on Celeste, and obviously Krista and Aurora aren't going to get one shot by Dante ults. And like I said, that usually gives you a pretty good chance of winning. Of course, Aurora against like a physical attacker like Dante, like that, sometimes she gets to ult a lot, do a lot of damage. So there's that, and then this one is like a Orion Helios team with Celeste and Nebula. It's actually really common to see Nebula between Celeste and Orion instead of Sebastian. And sometimes Sebastian could be good too. Like, I do recommend Sebastian, but I do see this a lot sometimes on defense. Because Nebula with Ascension abilities, like her, does help a lot to protect like the heroes next to her from status effects. And then Celeste Purifying Sphere, not quite as good as a Sebastian there, but Nebula buffs up the damage and healing. Orion of Celeste quite a bit, so it is a trade-off, but that team can do a lot of damage. But you're able to get a win pretty easily here. Right, and the key here on this one, against Orion Helios teams, I always recommend putting Oliver on Aurora, because Oliver said, or even Merlin. Merlin could be really good on Aurora as well. But if you don't have a Merlin on Krista, you definitely probably want a manual. Because Krista's ice shards won't come down as often without Merlin. But yeah, so this is, like I said, but I do, like, Oliver can be really good here just because so much damage comes out. And Kane's not really going to help you a whole lot versus this magic team. Again, but, the extra magic penetration on Merlin can also help Aurora versus, like, Orion teams. But with twins, you probably want Merlin on Krista. But something to keep in mind if you're trying to face Orion with a different hero. With like a different team when you're using Aurora. And the kind of said trying to figure out the good. Oh wait, actually this is it. This is the one we're looking for. So this is a Thea juice. So this is, like I said, Thea will actually get you quite a bit of time. So I have Right, so this is a team that's probably going to be tough, and I'll show you why. Like, we got kind of like a standard setup here. Right, like I said, if you don't have Sebastian, Thea will probably wreck you with silence. But, here's, like, what you notice is that, this is, like I said, maxed out Thea. Like, she has all those abilities here from Ascension that just make her really tough. Plus, the magic defense buffs, will also get you. Like, those, like I said, those 32k magic defense makes it really hard. And, you know, Thea just pretty much gets the win here. If they don't have, like, Jew teams without Thea are much easier to beat. Jew himself is not too bad for twins. It's Thea that wrecks you. It's that magic defense buffing and that healing. Like, Thea, like, is a very, very powerful healer. That's a lot of healing. And the magic defense just really cuts into your damage. So, yeah, like, Thea will wreck you. Is probably one of the toughest heroes to beat as a twins team. And then here's another one. Like, so if you want to try replacing, like, say, Celeste with Martha, you're probably going to run the same thing. And if you try to do Sebastian for Martha instead, like, you'll get hit with a 9-second silence. Celeste might be able to Purifying Sphere one hero or something. But like I said, you're gonna run into same issues, and you know, even with like Axel Patron, Martha is not invincible to Jew on a high end. Like, she dies here, and even though Sebastian Celeste, like I said, it's the same thing. Like, Thea is just really strong, really tough for the twins to beat. Like I said, she's a twins kill. Even like look at Aurora did like 3.5 million damage. Like, this team didn't even do a whole lot of damage. It's just that massive amount of healing. Like, Thea is too good. Like, versus the twins, Thea will wreck you. She's tough. And then we gotta go. I want to do like, so this is like a Leanne team. This also has Iris. Iris not too big of a deal, because when you do Eye of the Storm, usually moves your team forward. So like, if Iris is already ulted, you'll actually move in front of the soul, and then it's not that big of a deal. So twins, like I said, Lars kind of a counter to Iris. But what will get you is Leanne, is because once you ult, like once you rake them over the ice shards, you will, because of Axel, you will immediately dispel Ode to Serenity. Like I said, which will cause you to get stunned. Plus, she does a lot of pure damage. Right, like I said, Ode disappeared once she ulted, because all those little hits, so it gets redistributed, and it instantly gets you here. And of course, Aurora has Oliver here, so now Celeste dead. There's actually no way to beat this Aurora without Celeste, because she has Oliver Patron. Like I said, Oliver Patron is very common on Aurora. Like I said, she will get you a lot of the time. Just like, so there's so many times you'll time out first in Aurora with an Oliver Patron. Like I said, so Oliver, very tough, is also tough. But Leanne is probably, like I said, the bane of your existence. Like, a few heroes I hate seeing more on the other end than Leanne. And then we have like Arachne, Isaac. This team is nasty. This team will destroy you. Like, even, like I said, I actually held off my Aurora's ult here. See how I didn't ult yet? Because I was, like I said, waiting for Ode to come up before ulting. Like I said, I mean, it might be possible to win with this one of twins, but this is just a tough fight with all the status effects. Another thing to note is Aurora here has Biscuit Patron to strip off Ode quicker, because she does all those AEs, and this just leaves you prey to silence. Like I said, Purifying Sphere protected Aurora, so she gotta spam some dodge buffs here to try to protect, but now she's stunned, and you can't dodge if you're stunned. So like I said, this is just nasty. Like, and like I said, Aurora has Biscuit Patron here. Like, but I think some people have to underestimate a Biscuit Patron Aurora, but it's really good if you're using a line with like Arachne and or Isaac. Like, this is a pretty good line. Like I said, this will get the twins probably most of the time. Like, it's just a tough line. Like I said, this is one you would want a Biscuit on Aurora, but so that's, like I said, if it's just Isaac and that was the only status effect hero, like, you probably could beat it with Aurora, like with the Trinity twins. Anyway, hopefully this gave you some insight on like when to use twins, like which lines are good to use against, like which lines aren't, and yeah. Anyway, hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you for watching.